Ambassador James Smith stood at the massive window of the Galactic Council space station, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The endless sea of stars stretched before him, but his attention focused on the reflection of the council chamber behind him. 50 years of diplomacy, and today might be the last attempt. The chamber itself was a marvel of alien architecture, a perfect circle with rising tiers of seats that housed representatives from over 300 species. The air hummed with translation devices and the soft whispers of countless alien languages. Humans had been part of this council for 5 decades now, always trying to play by the rules, always trying to be diplomatic. Today it was different. James could feel it in his bones. Ambassador Smith, the deep, resonating voice of the council leader, echoed through the chamber. "You may present your case." James turned from the window, his steps measured and calm as he walked to the center platform. His gray suit was perfectly pressed, his silver hair neatly combed, the very picture of human professionalism. The platform rose slightly, putting him at eye level with the first tier of alien representatives. "Honorable Council," he began, his voice clear and steady. 3 days ago, the outer colony of New Hope was raided. Again. This marks the 27th raid on human colonies in the past year alone. Holographic images appeared around him, showing the destruction left behind. Burned buildings, destroyed farms, and empty streets where 5,000 colonists had lived just days before. "We have followed every protocol," James continued. "We filed the correct paperwork. We waited the required periods. We submitted all evidence." His eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the compound eyes, the singular orbs, and the sensory clusters of various alien species. And yet, no action has been taken. A rustling sound filled the chamber as the blue scale representative rose. Perhaps, it said, its scales shifting colors as it spoke, if humans better protected their colonies, such incidents would not occur. James felt his jaw tighten, but his expression remained neutral. 50 years of practice helped him maintain his composure. "We have requested permission to increase our defensive capabilities multiple times. Each request was denied by this council. Because your species is too young to handle such responsibilities," came another voice, this time from the crystalline form of the Ancient One's representative. "Barely 3 centuries into space travel. The risk is too great." James pulled out a small device from his pocket. The room's security systems immediately scanned it, finding it harmless. "With respect," he said, though the words tasted bitter in his mouth, "I have here records of 7 instances where council members themselves were involved in these raids." The chamber erupted in sounds of protest and denial. James waited patiently for the noise to die down. "These are serious accusations," the council leader's voice boomed, "without substantial proof." "The proof has been submitted 23 times in the past decade," James interrupted, something he had never done before. The small act of defiance caused several representatives to shift uncomfortably in their seats. Each time, it was dismissed on technical grounds. Each time, more humans disappeared from their homes. He pressed a button on his device, and new images appeared. Children's toys left scattered in abandoned homes. Family photos on walls of burned houses. Empty schools. "We have been patient," James said, his voice growing quieter, yet somehow filling the entire chamber. "We have been diplomatic. We have followed every rule, jumped through every hoop, filed every form." He looked up at the council leader. "And while we did all this, our people suffered." The council leader's tentacles waved in what might have been dismissal. "Your evidence will be reviewed, Ambassador. But you must understand, these processes take time." James stood silent for a moment, then nodded once. "Time," he repeated softly. "Yes, we have given quite a lot of that." He turned and began walking toward the chamber's exit. "Ambassador Smith," the council leader called out, "the session is not concluded." James stopped at the doorway, but didn't turn around. "Yes," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "It is." The door closed behind him with a quiet hiss, leaving a room full of confused and unsettled aliens behind. None of them understood that they had just witnessed the end of human patience, but they would. Soon, Tom Wilson watched the mining colony's security feeds with growing unease. Something wasn't right on asteroid Beta 7. The usual chatter of 300 miners and their families going about their daily routines felt different today. Quieter, more nervous. "Sir," his assistant called from the doorway. "Long-range sensors are picking up something odd." Tom turned away from the screens, his coffee forgotten on the desk. "Show me." The holographic display lit up the center of his office, showing 5 large ships approaching the asteroid. They weren't human vessels. Their shapes were all wrong. Too angular, too predatory. "Sound the alarm," Tom ordered, reaching for the emergency beacon. "Get everyone to the shelters. Now." But it was too late. The first blast hit the colony's outer dome, and though the shields held, the impact made the entire asteroid shudder. Tom grabbed his desk to stay upright as warning lights flooded his office with red. Multiple breaches in sectors 3 through 7. The computer's calm voice contrasted sharply with the chaos unfolding on the security feeds. "Unknown vessels have bypassed security protocols." Tom watched in horror as the raiders emerged from their ships. He recognized them immediately. The Claw Alliance. Their chitinous bodies and multiple limbs moved with terrible purpose as they spread through the colony. "This is Administrator Wilson to all colonists." He spoke into the emergency broadcast system, his voice steady despite his fear. "Initiate Protocol Dark. I repeat, initiate Protocol Dark." Protocol Dark was something they had practiced, but never thought they'd use. Every family knew what to do. Grab the emergency packs and head for the hidden bunkers deep within the asteroid. It wasn't perfect, but it might save some lives. The security feeds showed families running, children being carried, miners using their tools as weapons. But the raiders were too many, too well prepared. They had obviously studied human patterns and behaviors. Tom's hands flew over the control panel, trying to seal sections of the colony, trying to give his people a chance that grew smaller with each passing minute. "Sir," his assistant's voice crackled over the comm. "They're not just taking resources this time. They're taking people." The feeds confirmed it. The raiders weren't just destroying and stealing. They were systematically capturing colonists. Men, women, children, all were being dragged to their ships, stored in transparent containers like specimens in a lab. "Send the footage," Tom ordered, his fingers shaking as he typed. "Send everything to Earth. They need to see this." He looked up at a new sound. The office door being cut open by energy weapons. Transmission complete. The computer confirmed just as the door fell inward. 3 raiders entered, their mandibles clicking in what might have been satisfaction. Tom stood up slowly, his hands raised. "I am Administrator Tom Wilson," he said clearly, knowing the translation devices would work. "These are civilian miners and their families. They are under Earth's protection." The largest raider stepped forward, its compound eyes reflecting Tom's image back at him. "Protection." It clicked in translated English. "We see no protection here. We see only specimens. Interesting specimens." "Earth will not stand for this," Tom warned, backing away as they approached. "There will be consequences." "Earth." The raider made a sound that might have been laughter. "Earth has stood by for 50 years. Earth files papers. Earth makes speeches. Earth does nothing." Tom felt the wall behind him. Nowhere left to retreat. "You don't understand humans very well," he said quietly. "We understand enough," the raider replied, raising a device that emitted a soft blue light. "You will make an excellent specimen yourself, Administrator." The last thing Tom saw before the blue light took him was the final transmission confirmation. Complete data package sent to Earth Command. He smiled as darkness took him. They really didn't understand humans at all. But they would. Soon enough, they all would. Admiral Mary Walker moved through the hidden shipyard, deep within Mars's largest canyon, her footsteps echoing in the vast underground chamber. 6 months had passed since the Beta 7 incident. 6 months of quiet rage and careful planning. "Status report," she commanded, stopping before the first of the massive ships that filled the secret facility. "The Ghost Fleet is ready, Admiral," her second-in-command reported, tablet in hand. "All 25 ships are fully equipped with the new drives." Mary nodded, looking up at the vessel before her. Its dark hull seemed to swallow light, the product of decades of secret research. The aliens thought they knew everything about human technology. They were wrong. "Show me the weapons test results," she ordered, walking alongside the ship's enormous length. The tablet displayed various graphs and numbers, all showing the same thing: success. "The power dampening system works perfectly," the officer explained. "One shot can shut down all technology in a target area. No destruction, no deaths. Just silence." That had been Mary's one condition when they began this project. They would not become the monsters they were fighting. These weapons would disable, not destroy. Show strength, not cruelty. And the crew? Ready and waiting. We've had them training in simulators for years, preparing for this moment. They're the best we have. Mary stopped at a viewing window overlooking another chamber. Below, hundreds of smaller ships sat in neat rows. They looked like normal human vessels on the outside. The same ones the aliens had dismissed as primitive. But looks could be deceiving. "Communications blackout is still in effect?" she asked, though she knew the answer. "Yes, Admiral. As far as the galaxy knows, Earth is still licking its wounds and filing complaints with the Council. Our own people think these facilities are just mining operations." Mary allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had always underestimated humanity's ability to keep secrets. They thought humans were too emotional, too open, too honest to hide anything important. She turned to face a large screen showing Earth's solar system. Red dots marked the locations of alien observation posts, all of them watching Earth's official shipyards and military bases. None of them watching the right places. "Report from intelligence," her officer continued. "The Claw Alliance is still conducting tests on our people from Beta 7. There," he paused, his jaw tightening. "They're treating them like lab animals." Mary's face hardened. "Time estimate until full fleet readiness. 48 hours, Admiral. We can launch everything at your command." She nodded, turning to walk toward the command center. Along the way, she passed hundreds of crew members preparing for what was to come. Their faces showed the same quiet determination she felt. No hot anger, no desire for revenge. Just purpose. In the command center, a massive holographic display showed the positions of every known alien military base, every trading post, every hidden facility they'd discovered over 50 years of patient observation. "Send the order," Mary said, her voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. "All ships to final positions, weapons check and crew briefing in 24 hours. She turned to look at the assembled officers. "For 50 years, we've watched, we've learned, we've prepared. Every raid they conducted taught us about their tactics. Every insult in the Council showed us their weaknesses. Every moment they thought we were weak, we grew stronger." The room remained silent, waiting. "Send word to all command posts," she continued. "Operation Silent Night begins in 48 hours. Remember your training. Remember our purpose. We're not here for revenge. We're here to establish peace." As her officers moved to carry out their orders, Mary looked once more at the fleet waiting in the shadows of Mars. Soon, the galaxy would learn that humanity's patience hadn't been a weakness. It had been a gift, one they had wasted. And no species would ever forget what happened next. Captain Robert Gray sat motionless in his command chair aboard the stealth ship Shadow. His vessel hung in space, less than a kilometer from the Claw Alliance's largest military base, completely undetected. Their scanners passed through the Shadow as if it wasn't even there. "All systems ready, Captain," his weapons officer reported quietly. Though there was no need for silence in space, some habits were hard to break. Robert watched the massive space station through his view screen. It was ugly, all sharp angles and weapon ports, built to inspire fear. Thousands of Claw Alliance soldiers moved inside it, planning their next raids on helpless colonies. "Show me the prisoner section," he ordered. The screen shifted, focusing on one part of the station. Enhanced imaging showed human shapes in the cells, survivors from Beta 7 and other raids, treated like animals in a zoo. "Signal from command received," his communications officer announced. "We have permission to proceed." Robert nodded slowly. "Send the message." A simple text transmission went out, breaking through all the station's security like it wasn't even there. "Return our people. This is your only warning." He counted silently. 1, 2, 3. The response came exactly as expected. A barrage of weapons fire from the station. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes shot through the space where they thought his ship was. None came close to the Shadow's true position. "Their response is logged, Captain," his first officer reported. "They're also sending messages to their fleet. Shall we jam them?" "No," Robert replied. "Let them call for help. Let them record everything that happens here. That's the point of a warning shot." He pressed a button on his chair, opening a channel to the entire crew. "All hands, this is the captain. Remember your training. What we do here today will be remembered for generations, not for its violence, but for its mercy." The weapons officer's hands moved over his console. "Target locked, Captain. Power dampening wave ready." Robert leaned forward slightly. "Fire." A pulse of invisible energy shot out from the Shadow. It hit the station and spread like a ripple in a pond. In its wake, everything just stopped. Through the view screen, they watched as the station's lights went dark. Its weapons fell silent. Its artificial gravity failed. Even its emergency systems died. "Status report," Robert ordered. "Power dampening wave working at 100% efficiency," his science officer reported. "All their technology is offline. Life support is at minimal levels, enough to keep them alive, but nothing more. Their backup systems are trying to start, but can't." Robert stood up, walking closer to the view screen. Inside the station, he could imagine the panic. The mighty Claw Alliance warriors floating helplessly in their own base, all their advanced weapons nothing more than expensive decorations. "Launch the boys," he commanded. Small devices shot out from the Shadow, surrounding the station. Each one lit up with a simple message, transmitted in every known language. "This is what mercy looks like." "Captain," his communications officer called out. "We're picking up transmissions from their other bases. They're asking the Council for help." Robert allowed himself a small smile. "Good. That's exactly what we wanted." He turned to his crew. "Power dampening wave will last for 6 hours. That's how long they have to think about their choices. To understand what happens next is up to them." He sat back in his command chair. "Send the final message." On every screen in the powerless station, in every command center of the Claw Alliance, the same words appeared. "You have 6 hours to return all human prisoners to the coordinates we provide. If you comply, this will be the only demonstration. If you don't." The message paused for effect. "Well, this ship isn't called Shadow because it's the only one we have." Robert watched as rescue ships began racing toward the dead station. "Helm, take us home. Our part here is done." As the Shadow slipped away, completely unseen, Robert knew the real message had been sent. Humanity hadn't been weak. They had been patient, and that patience had just run out. Commander Jane Brooks stood at the bridge of the Nightfall, watching as her fleet emerged from the shadow of Jupiter. The 6 hours had passed. The Claw Alliance had made their choice. They'd kept the human prisoners and called for military reinforcements instead. "All ships report ready, Commander," her tactical officer announced. "Ghost Fleet squadrons are in position across all 20 target systems." Jane nodded, her face calm. "Operation status: green across the board. The enemy doesn't suspect anything. Their ships are still gathering at their rally points, just as intelligence predicted. The view screen showed hundreds of alien vessels forming battle groups. They thought they were preparing to teach humanity a lesson. They were wrong. "Open fleet-wide channel," Jane ordered. When the light turned green, she spoke clearly. "All ships, this is Commander Brooks. The enemy has made their choice. Execute Phase 1. Remember, disable, don't destroy. We are not here for revenge. We are here to establish peace." 20 synchronized strikes began across the galaxy. The Ghost Fleet emerged from their hiding spots, their true forms finally revealed. The ships were beautiful in their deadliness, sleek, dark, and absolutely silent. "First wave, launch dampening pulses," Jane commanded. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across 20 star systems, alien ships suddenly lost power. Their mighty engines died. Their fearsome weapons fell silent. Their communications went dark. They floated helplessly in space, their crews experiencing for the first time what true helplessness felt like. Second wave, deploy containment fields. Massive energy nets appeared between the stars, cutting off all escape routes. The technology that humans had supposedly never developed trapped entire alien fleets like fish in a barrel. "Status report," Jane called out. "Dampening waves successful in all sectors," her science officer reported. 97% of enemy ships neutralized. No casualties reported. 3% of targets attempting to flee through FTL. Jane allowed herself a small smile. "Execute Phase 2. In the space between stars, hidden human devices activated. They had been placed there over decades, disguised as space debris or sensor buoys. Now they revealed their true purpose: FTL interdiction fields. The fleeing ships dropped back into normal space, their faster-than-light drives completely useless. Message from the Claw Alliance flagship, communications reported. They're asking how this is possible. "Show me their admiral," Jane ordered. The alien commander appeared on screen, his chitinous face showing what might have been fear. How long have you had these capabilities?" "Long enough," Jane replied simply. "Where are our people?" "You can't do this." The alien admiral raged. "The Council will." "The Council is currently watching their mighty military forces float helplessly in space," Jane interrupted. "Now, I'll ask one more time. Where are our people?" The admiral's mandibles clicked rapidly. "The research facilities. Sector 7, stations 3 through 12. Jane nodded to her tactical officer. The coordinates were immediately relayed to nearby Ghost Fleet ships. "Recovery teams launching," Tactical reported. "Medical ships moving in to receive survivors." Jane turned back to the screen. "Remember this moment," she told the alien admiral. "Remember that when we had your entire fleet at our mercy, we chose not to destroy. Remember that when we found you experimenting on our people, we still chose preservation over vengeance." She stood straighter. "But also remember this: our patience is gone. The raids stop. The experiments stop. The threats stop. Or next time, we might make different choices." The admiral could only nod. "Send to all sectors," Jane ordered after cutting the connection. "Phase 3 begin. Secure their military bases, disable their weapon factories, control their shipyards." She paused, looking at the stunning view of powerless alien ships floating in space. Let them see what humanity can really do when pushed too far. The galaxy would never be the same after this day. And that was exactly the point. Ambassador James Smith walked into the Galactic Council chamber, his steps echoing in the unusual silence. The room was packed. Every species had sent their highest representatives. But unlike his last visit, no one was whispering. No one was moving. Every alien eye was fixed on him. The human survivors from Beta 7 sat in a special section, now free and receiving medical care. Tom Wilson was among them, still weak but insisting on being present. His eyes met James's, and they shared a small nod. This emergency session of the Galactic Council is now in order, the council leader announced, its tentacles moving nervously. Ambassador Smith, you have the floor. James walked to the center platform, just as he had 6 months ago. But this time, when it rose, he stood above the first tier, not level with it. A small change that everyone noticed. 3 days ago, he began, his voice carrying clearly, humanity demonstrated its true capabilities. Today we will demonstrate something else, our commitment to justice. He pressed a button, and holographic screens appeared around the chamber. They showed thousands of documents, communications, and secret meetings. For 50 years we recorded everything, James continued. Every backroom deal, every secret agreement, every conspiracy to keep humanity in its place. He looked around the chamber. Did you really think we were just filing papers? The blue scale representative, who had once dismissed human concerns, tried to speak. These documents are authentic, James cut in. Verified by your own security systems, the same systems you thought we couldn't access. He pressed another button, and new images appeared. Alien ships testing weapons on human colonies, secret laboratories where humans were treated like test subjects, military bases planning raids. We have survived wars on our own world, James said into the silence. We have overcome disasters, divisions, and near extinction. Did you think we survived all that by being naive? The Ancient One's representative shifted uncomfortably. What are your demands? James almost smiled. Almost. Demands. No. We're here to establish facts. He began counting on his fingers. Fact 1. All military forces that participated in raids on human colonies will be disbanded. Fact 2. All species involved in experiments on humans will pay reparations to the victims' families. Fact 3. A new Security Council will be formed, with humanity taking a permanent seat. You cannot simply, someone began. Fact 4. James continued as if no one had spoken. Any future aggression against human colonies will be met with immediate response. You've seen what our ships can do. That was us being gentle. The council leader's tentacles had stopped moving entirely. And if we refuse? James turned to face it directly. Why would you refuse? Look around this room. Look at your mighty fleets, now floating powerless in space. Look at your secret bases, now exposed. Look at your military advantages, now meaningless. He paused. We don't want to rule. We don't want revenge. We want peace, real peace, not the illusion of it. He pressed one final button, and the screen showed the Ghost Fleet, hundreds of advanced ships that had been hidden for decades. We could have used these long ago. We could have responded to the first raid with overwhelming force. Instead, we waited. We watched. We gave you every chance to do the right thing. The chamber remained silent as James stepped down from the platform. The human fleet will remain in position until all agreements are signed. Our patience is not gone. It's just different now. You have 24 hours to decide. He walked toward the exit, then stopped and turned one last time. Remember, we chose peace today, even after everything. Don't make us regret that choice. As the door closed behind him, the chamber erupted in urgent discussions. But everyone knew there was only one real choice. The galaxy had changed, and they would have to change with it. 1 year later, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The observation deck of New Hope Colony, rebuilt and thriving, offered a perfect view of these changes. Tom Wilson stood at the window, watching ships pass through the busy space lanes. Human vessels flew alongside alien craft, their designs now sharing the same shipping routes. A year ago, such peaceful coexistence would have seemed impossible. Quite a view, isn't it? Admiral Mary Walker asked, joining him at the window. She had come to oversee the new defense system installation, a joint project between humans and 3 other species. Hard to believe it's the same place, Tom replied, remembering the raid that had changed everything. Those are Claw Alliance trading ships down there, flying right beside our civilian vessels. Mary nodded. Amazing what can happen when everyone finally understands each other. Above them, a massive ship appeared, one of the formerly hidden Ghost Fleet, now serving as part of the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Its dark hull no longer needed to hide in shadows. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador James Smith sat in humanity's new seat, elevated and permanent. The Council was discussing trade routes today. Simple, normal business. No threats, no hidden agendas. The human representatives have been instrumental in designing these new safety protocols. The blue scale representative was saying, its scales showing respectful colors. Their experience in protecting remote colonies has proved invaluable. James smiled slightly, remembering how different these meetings used to be. Now, when humans spoke, others listened. Not out of fear, but out of genuine respect. At the Beta 7 Memorial Center, Commander Jane Brooks walked with a group of alien students. The center had been built to remember what happened, but also to teach about the importance of peace. This is why we chose not to destroy, she explained to the young aliens, pointing at a display showing the disabled but undamaged ships from their operation. Power isn't about what you can destroy. It's about what you choose to preserve. The students looked up at her with various types of eyes, compound, singular, and sensory clusters, but all showed understanding. They were the first generation that would grow up knowing humans as they truly were. In deep space, Captain Robert Gray's ship Shadow patrolled alongside alien vessels. The same ships that once hunted human colonies now worked with them to protect all species from pirates and raiders. Distress call from a Claw Alliance mining operation, his communications officer reported. They're under attack from unknown forces. Set course to assist, Robert ordered without hesitation. Alert our patrol partners. As Shadow moved to help those who had once been enemies, Robert remembered his words from a year ago. What we do here today will be remembered for generations. He had been right, but not in the way he expected. Back at New Hope Colony, Tom watched a group of children playing in the colony's new park. Human children ran and laughed alongside alien young, their parents watching from nearby benches, talking and sharing stories. You know what the funny thing is, he said to Admiral Walker. We had this power all along. We could have used it at any time. Mary smiled. That's what makes humans different. We had the power to destroy, but we waited until we had the wisdom to use it right. Above them, ships continued their peaceful journeys through space. The Ghost Fleet vessels still patrolled, but now they protected everyone, not just humans. The power-dampening technology had been shared with trusted allies, used to maintain peace rather than enforce surrender. They say no species will ever forget the moment when humans finally lost their patience, Tom mused. But that's not quite right, is it? No, Mary agreed. What they'll never forget is what we did when we found our patience again, after they pushed us too far. As the sun set on New Hope Colony, its light reflected off ships of all species flying together through the stars. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity had learned something too. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in showing your strength. It's in showing your mercy when you're at your strongest.